Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey everyone, we recently watched a haunting new horror film, Lily Lives Alone. And with us to discuss it is the writer and director Martin Melnick and stars Shannon, Beeby, and Ryan Jones. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Hey,
Thank
you for having us.
Oh no, I'm glad you guys were able to come on because I really enjoyed the film. So it's kind of fun that we get to after I see a movie that I really like and I get to talk to people that are a big part of it. So, but I guess before we get into that movie, why don't we just go around, let our listeners kind of you give them a little like introduction, little brief bio of how you got into the film industry.
Okay, yeah. Martin, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah, I threw you under
Throw
the
me into
bus.
the fire. No, okay.
Well, he is first on my screen, so good
Perfect.
call.
See, I felt
Good
that.
call.
Wasn't expecting an in-depth backstory. Yeah, I got into the film industry originally through acting. Actually, I was like a failed child actor. Did a lot of little commercials and auditions for movies I didn't get, but in the process realized I wanted to make films and sort of worked my way towards that. And I went to school in Montana for it and moved to back to the Pacific Northwest, Portland, where I'm from. In 2010 and started just working in the industry here and have been doing post-production and production work here for 15 years now. So
Oh wow,
that's the abridged version.
Hey, you look too young for that. Too young to have such a long history there.
I'll take it. Just turned 37, so I'll take it.
Oh no, I guess
so am I next? I guess I'll go.
Yeah, you guys go.
So Ryan Jones, I played Jed in the film and got into acting at a young age. Went to college, met the love of my life there, doing a play. And East Coast, this was in Florida, moved up to New York, in New York for many years, just hitting the streets and auditioning, doing some theater, doing some film and TV, and kind of the film and TV started paying the bills more, so kind of went to that direction. But still over on the East Coast, and but we're in Philly now.
Oh,
and it's the abbreviated version there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, real quick before you go in, Shannon, you mentioned Philly, so I got to ask what I know this is traditional thing. I have my favorite because when I lived in East Coast, I would go there all the time. Which is your favorite cheesesteak there?
I think my favorite is a place called Shanks. It's like right on the Delaware River.
Oh, see, I never heard of that one. Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like
it's a hole in the wall, like
like
if you know, you know.
Yeah, like I honestly feel like it might just people who like work at like the loading docks or something who like go there, but it's cool because you can ride your bike there and you can sit and like have a view of the river, and they just make good hoagies.
Oh, nice.
So like if you're not in the mood for a cheesesteak, like overall it's good.
Yeah, very unassuming.
But only with Cooper Sharp. Like for me, like that's like my cheesesteaks have to be with Cooper. Jeez.
Nice.
I'm with
same one. Yeah, mine is I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I've been to as many of them as I could, but I think I've discovered my favorite is Woodrow's. Because they put the cherry peppers on it, and I'm like a big hot
I'd get a
food kind of guy, and so it was great. And I remember we went with my family, and I was my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and their kids, and we wanted to take them to a good cheesesteak place, and my wife found that one. And because it was going to be in the area we were going to be that day. And I remember it was pouring rain. We had our dog and they let us in perfectly fine. They made us up some great little spot in the corner so we didn't have to stay out in the rain with the dog and everything. And then they made like these insane cheesesteaks. So that's my pick. I tell everyone to go there. I say, try to avoid those. I say avoid the big ones, the names that you heard, because it's like you said, it's a hole in a wall. It's the ones you don't hear of that usually tend to be the best. So
you're spot on. Yeah.
Okay,
but Woodrow's,
go to Woodrow's.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, put that one on your list. It's really good.
Perfect.
And sorry,
Yeah.
Shannon, now you could go back to your intro. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
I'm hungry.
foodie,
I'm hungry
so
now.
I know now.
Precedent.
Now look
Let's
what
I
I've
gotta go
done,
get a
right?
cheesesteak, but you can't
Yeah.
get a cheesesteak in Portland, so that's not
Oh,
gonna happen.
I bet you could.
You probably
Portland's
can, but
find one.
down.
I'm
There's
not
definitely
gonna,
a
I'm not gonna
place.
die on that hill here.
I found a good one in Santa Clara the other day,
Yeah,
so
you
you
could
can find one
definitely
in
get like
Portland,
a
I'm sure. Yeah,
banging like vegan mushroom cheesesteak in Portland.
there
I
you
am
go.
positive.
You're gonna
Um,
find something done differently, that's for sure.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
sacrilegious maybe just to the people in Philly.
So yeah, how did I get into it? I just loved play acting. Like I loved playing make believe when I was a kid, and I didn't, I come from a family of engineers and like physical therapists, so I had no connection to the arts at all. And it wasn't until my grandmother took me to my first play when it was about sixth grade, that I even realized that it was a thing that real people did. I saw movies, but I didn't know that that was like, oh, wait, that's like a job and people can do that. And that really kind of opened my mind up to the future that I was going to carve out for myself. And I started doing, theater in my hometown and really loved it. And then went to school. I don't know if we've prefaced this, but Ryan and I are married. We've been married for this past year was our 20th anniversary.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
Again, how are you guys married?
Congrats.
You look so young to be married 20 years. That's crazy.
We met in school at a play, or while we were doing a play together. We fell in love, we got married, we moved up to New York. My story is kind of mirrors Ryan's, for kind of obvious reasons. And let me share how we met Martin. So
There you go.
yeah. So we went to Portland with a short film with some other friends of ours, Water Gun Outlaw.
An incredible
And
short film, incredible
yeah,
film.
it's an amazing film, and called Demon Deep in Oklahoma. And the film screened there, and we met Martin. Did we meet you at the screening or like at a party
I
before?
ran up to you all right after it because it was the best thing I saw at the festival, and I was enthralled with it, and I was like wanting to meet and just introduce myself to all of you because I was just kind of blown away.
It was so wonderful because
Yeah.
here we are. We're like we've never really, we didn't know anything about Portland. Like we didn't know where to go, and like it was like day one, and Martin came up to us and he was like, I am going to be your guide. I'm going to unlock the city for you. And we just had so much fun. I think we were like kindred spirits, all of us.
I became
And
friends real quick.
yeah, really quick. And then we continued to collaborate like on like another project that I worked on later, and we just stayed in touch. And Martin kept saying like, I'm working on a script, like just you wait. And it was gosh, like in 2021 or 2020. When did you reach out?
I think I reached out in 2021 because that was, or at least the end of 2021 because we shot at the end of 2022.
Yes.
But you and I had already, like, you starred in a short film that I made in 2017, 2018. And
Yes.
that film, actually a little snippet of that film is in Lily Lives Alone. It's in the TV, just a little.
Yeah, it's a great Easter egg.
Oh,
for all of
I have to look
all
for
of
that
you.
again. I'll have to watch it
Yeah.
again and look for
So
it.
there's like, a little
Easter
Easter egg to that. But yeah, it was, a while ago now, because like I think I had a draft to actually send to you sometime early 2022 or mid 2022.
We shot that, was that in 2016?
Circle was either
Circle?
2016 or 2017. I really can't remember.
Yeah,
One of
I
those
know,
two.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you get the gist that we really were like, we've been friends and collaborators for a while.
And your film also, which
Yeah.
was that before or after? I think it was before Circle.
Yep, I think it was because that's
RSVP.
what it was. You bartered with me, like, because
Yes.
I needed an amazing colorist for the film that the short film that I had worked on. And I was like, well, I know an amazing colorist. And so I reached out to Martin and I was like, what's your rate? Like, what can I pay you? And he was like, this is what you're going to pay me. You're going to pay me.
Will you
by coming
be
out
my
and being in
spooky
my short film.
movie?
Yeah.
You'll be in everything from now on. That's your payment. Okay.
But
I love it. I love it. I was
feature
like,
script,
deal.
the
Yeah.
feature script
So,
was written specifically for Ryan and Shannon. So
yeah.
whereas we did auditions and casting for everyone else in Lily Lives Alone, the part of Jed and Lily were both written specifically for Shannon and Ryan, and to continue our collaboration, because I was very excited to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that because I see that a lot, and especially in the more the independent films like that, where like you get a group and you work together, and it really shows because it shows you all have the same like love for the project and you're all in it together. And whether or not I think people realize at the time, but you can tell a difference when there is a cast and a crew and a writer director. They're all together and really share a same vision on it. It always to me makes like for such a better film. I mean, I don't know, it's something maybe I just notice it, but I don't know. I think you guys, I like now just hearing that, I want you guys to like always collaborate because
Right on. I think you're
it
right.
makes
I
some great
agree with you.
stuff.
I think it's something felt, for sure. Like you can feel that wavelength of connection, even in the finished work. I agree.
Yeah, that's definitely something you can see. So this question is for Martin first. So this was actually this was a fascinating film to me. I really enjoyed it, and that you wrote, and the fact that you wrote and directed, it's always like a kind of an interesting thing when when it because then you could really get your vision through the whole thing. So where did the idea come from, and what kind of inspiration did you have that was behind it?
Sure. Actually, so originally, I've got other films that I want to work on. They're all larger, like much larger budget films, larger in scope. They're ones that I need to, bring on other executive producers for and things like that. So the original sort of deciding factor for something like Lily was actually my wife, who Sarah Johnston, who produced the movie. So she came to me and was like, well, the movie was largely just self-financed by her and I. So the idea was, how could we make a contained character story that's something that we could actually pull off in a small scope, something that is large in story, but contained. Like the majority of this movie is a one location movie. It's not entirely one location, but for a lot of it, it is sort of a chamber piece that way. So it was really it came from a challenge. It was, can you construct a story that's complete, that's character driven, that's rich, that mostly takes place with only a few characters, a few core characters in one space. And that was sort of the original idea behind Lily, was telling this big story in a small scope. But in terms of Lily's actual development, a lot of it is pulled from. I mean, I'll take credit for writing it, but at the same time, I want to take credit. I want to give credit where credit's due to stories from my wife, stories from other family. I have a lot of experience with family members with substance abuse growing up, and depression and other things. And a lot of this sort of all came together with inputs from close people that are close to me, my wife, others, and then bringing that all together myself to try to like really craft a story around a character who is really going through something. And then of course, once I brought that script to Shannon, like everything, Shannon is one of my favorite collaborators because she gets it and she elevates it. So like her and I, then first my wife, she helps me elevate and craft the story, and then I'll take it to Shannon when it was ready for her to see, and then one more stage, us working together to really shape Lily. She took on Lily so personally and with such respect to the character, that she really sort of brought those little nuances up just that next level. And I guess for me, and I know this is kind of a roundabout answer, but since the movie is centering so much around this one character, it was really important for me that even though the character is going through something pretty severe, that the film doesn't judge that character, that the film lives with that character and sort of understands that anyone in a certain set of circumstances can be driven to do anything and can be made to make mistakes, or is worthy of understanding. And so I guess a lot of it was just came from musings and talking with a lot of people and really listening to what would craft a sort of dimensional, like a three-dimensional character, and really respecting that. And I'm just lucky to have such great collaborators, honestly.
Yeah, it was a great character, and I mean, of course, this is probably some credit, of course, to Shannon's portrayal. But what I loved about it is that, like, they were, like you said, like, you're going along with this journey, and I felt like there's times I felt so bad for her, and then I'm like, well, why are you doing this? You're getting yourself into your own trouble. I'm almost like in my head talking to the screen, kind of. But that's what's so fascinating, because the character is so good, and it is so heavy, and like a lot of stuff, and I actually get to that in a little question later about it, but I was going to ask you though, so the voiceover in the film that you do with that little story about with
Mhm.
the 30-second memory, was that a true story that put in, because it almost sounded like it could be a true story.
Uh, yeah, I mean, it's a little changed. I was made to dissect a squid growing up,
Oh,
not a worm. But through a lot of iterations of rewriting, something that stuck with me that I learned in grade school was about this concept of making a memory. And I've actually, this is going to sound weird, but throughout the course of my life, I've taken that to heart. And anytime I'm in a moment, like I'm really living in the present, and I'm like, oh man, this is a moment that I really don't want to forget. I either take a photograph if I have a camera with me, or I sit there and I think about the moment and how appreciative I am of the moment for about 30 seconds. And I will say that I have a series of those moments that I can remember distinctly when I forget everything else, because I took the time to do that. And so this idea of 30 seconds started with that, but then it also comes from a place of recognizing that oftentimes people who experience CPTSD or other kinds of trauma really have a difficult time with short-term memory and long-term memory, and a clarity of memory, like a trusting of memory, because it really impacts your ability to hold on to details. And so it can create false memories. It can create obscured memories. It can also, it can actually tamper down things that were true that you need to remember, pains that you need to remember. It's sort of a defense mechanism. You can forget things. So, your brain does a lot to try to help you survive really traumatic things by, helping you forget them. And sometimes in order to process them, you need to remember them. So that comes back to this whole idea of, really wanting to hold on to this one little thing. And that's where that sort of 30-second memory, making a memory comes from. And there's some Easter eggs in this movie, and I don't want to, I'll answer questions, but I don't want to say too
Yeah.
many of them. But there are some hidden things about that memory built into the edit, and how memory works. And maybe at a later date I'll reveal some of those
Okay. Yeah. No,
Easter
but
eggs.
wait
But
till
it,
more people
yeah,
see it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah. I'm always trying to balance the line of not trying to spoil anything. I think I
I appreciate
don't
that.
do that. Yeah. No, we always try not to spoil it. We always give a warning anyway. We're like, just in case, wait
Yeah.
until you see the movie, then come back and listen to the interview if you want. But so this one's for Ryan and Shannon. So other than your life debt, obviously, to Martin that you have to be in his movies,
Oh no.
what is what was it's you're both so incredible in the film. So there was obviously a love you had for the script and the characters, but what was some of the things that really attracted you to it?
To the story as a whole, or the project, like
Both. It could be
both.
both. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say probably step one was the project itself. Just the fact that Martin was like, "Hey, I've written a feature uh screenplay. I would love you all to come out here and work with me on it." That's kind of all it took in that moment. And then receiving the screenplay itself, and everything that Martin just touched on, the complexity of someone who is a real person, who's struggling, who is flawed, but at their core, like, wants to be good, like wants to do what they think is the best thing in a particular moment, and having the opportunity to navigate that tightrope walk, and um, as much as possible be honest with it. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting opportunity as an actor to don't want to you want to love your character, and their experience is true. You know what I mean? Like, for you, like, what they're experiencing is true, and what they think to be true, even though in the reality for the audience could very much not be true. Um, Still to have that, and in equal measure, like, not coddle them, you know, like not be afraid to, I guess, get messy with your character. It's like loving them so much, like as if you would, you know, your soulmate, where it's like no matter what, like no matter how they show up, you're gonna be there and love them fully, and then kind of like ride through the tough parts. Yeah, that's, I would say, is really what excited me about it. And but first and foremost was just getting to work with Martin and Sarah and having the opportunity to play, you know, for a month. Like how awesome. We got to stay, um, be together for a whole month and just like be creative and have fun, and
Yeah.
it was all, yeah.
Yeah, that was the same for me. I mean, Jed's a supporting character, so it's, I mean, there's no small parts, right? But still, Shannon, I mean, she carries the film, and so anything, it was like, okay, working with Martin and Sarah, seeing their previous work, and just knowing when you have that kind of trust, that's fantastic. Shannon was excited about it because she read the script first, and then was excited about it, and I got excited about it. I was just excited. I was already in,
Yeah.
even before like I read it, to be honest. But then once I did read, I was like, oh wow, I really appreciate scripts like this. So I don't want to give anything away, but that explore different themes and in different ways and very visually, which Martin does very well. And yeah, and it's a fantastic time.
Nice, nice. So back down to Martin. It's funny, you kind of led into this, which is kind of interesting. So this is one of those films I feel like is filled with like this ambiguity, where it keeps you constantly intrigued, a little bit confused, and trying to realize what's real, what's not, what could be in the mind of the main character. Which that's I could speak for Tim. We love movies that do that. We love the movies that kind of like are not so like clear cut, and you have to think as you're watching it and trying to figure stuff out and trying to look for things and stuff like that. So what can you tell us about first the writing process of a story like that, and then how do you direct something like that where you want to kind of keep the theme going with the narrative but also like reveal things, in a certain way to the audience that's not so out there. I'm trying to word it so I don't spoil anything.
You're
So.
okay. I think that's
Hard.
perfect. I think
Yeah,
that's
good
perfect.
job.
Yeah, so it's a challenge for sure. I think so it's always a tightrope walk, and it was this in the script process, and it was this in pre-production, it was this in production, and into post, where we're sort of constantly deciding how much exposition, how much do we give the audience versus how much do we hold back. So the one thing is I also love films that sort of ask more questions than they answer, but at the same time I didn't want a film that doesn't give answers. So what I'll say, without spoilers, just as a whole, that anything that feels ambiguous in this film, and not trying to say go out and watch it like 3 or 4 times,
Yeah.
but there's an answer for everything, and it's all in there. It's just hidden in layers of subtext. And if you watch it again once you've like discussed it or thought about it and processed it, you'll be like, oh my God, okay, I get it. But I didn't want it to be outwardly like that because I didn't want over exposition. I really cared more about the idea that as long as you understand what's happening for the main character and like her personal inner journey, that the plot can get as weird as we want it to. Especially since the whole idea of this film is that we wanted you to feel what Lily's going through directly through her subjective perspective as the film goes on. So yeah, the film does get crazier as the movie goes on. It gets more and more hard to really pin down reality versus what's delusion versus what's supernatural. And with all intention, it's meant to put you in the place, in the shoes of Lily and what she's going through in this night. So it really was kind of a challenge to, writing that on the page. It's like, okay, well, we're filming this. What are we filming? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This. Let me really explain this. So there was a little bit of that, but honestly, we had to be so planned with pre-production because of our short shooting schedule that everything was so dialed in that it was like, these are our overheads. This is what we're doing. We had an amazing art team that like understood everything and was so into it and had like converted this house into her house and and had all of that art ready to go, so that as things get weirder in the production, weirder in the story, it's all matched by everything from production to wardrobe to costumes to everything. So
Yeah.
we had such a wonderful team that put that all together and really understood, so that nothing, because nothing is random in it. Even though there's a lot of allegorical things, there's a lot of surrealism that happens in the movie. It's all for a very specific purpose, and our team was just so on it. I feel like it wasn't just because we planned through, but yeah, I don't know. It's a challenge, but I also, just like you said, like I like narratives that sort of live outside of tradition a little bit, especially when you're really trying to put somebody into another person's perspective. And not everybody sees things in sort of clear, 3-act, simplistic expositional ways.
Yeah, no, it may, because yes, you want to go to a movie to get entertained, but to me, entertainment, can be the fact that like you're, get your mind going like, well, wait a minute. Oh, is this it? And then you kind of like you're thinking back as you watch it. So yeah, I think you're right though. This is a movie that I think I definitely want to watch again. Unfortunately, I only had time to watch it once. Usually I try and get a couple times in, but don't worry, I plan to watch it a second time. Actually, I want my wife to see it because she likes these kind of movies too. She always likes to figure things out like ahead of time. So I'm curious if she'll like start guessing
Nice.
things like in the first act already. But so kind of piggyback on that for you, Ryan and Shannon. How did you approach your roles where you kind of know what's going on, but you have to kind of like, you have to portray this sense of ambiguity. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that word. I say it all the time,
Hard
never have a
word.
problem.
No, it's a hard
But
word.
now I'm having trouble with the word ambiguity. Okay, there we go. Got it.
That's like the definition of the word.
It
It's like,
is.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
like I can't say
reflective
it.
of it.
I promise I can speak really well usually. So how did you guys approach that as actors? Because you and know the whole story, but you kind of have to, through your performances reveal as the
yeah.
story reveals.
Well, I can go first on that because I feel like for me it was a lot easier to answer that. So I think, not to, so Jed is a supporting character who's shows up, is in Lily's life for a time. And so for me, because it's like I'm kind of, like it's her story, right? It is Lily's story. It's not Jed's story. He happens to be, part of it. And so that's really all, to be honest, like that's my job, is to be like, what's my story? How can I bring life to this person? Try my best to present it in an authentic way, and try not to get all these other things out of my head of like knowing the rest of the script, trying to like just forget all of that. And I think and Martin really helped me because like his direction was great because it really helped ground me. I remember one time, Martin, I think it was something like, it was just something really simple where it was like, it was just one line and you were like, okay, all right, Jed, you just take one more bong hit. There was no bong hitting in the movie. There was no.
I was gonna say, did I miss that too? I don't know. So yeah, so Shannon, like, how about you? I know you obviously probably gonna have a little bit more of a complicated answer for this.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like for Lily, there's so much that she doesn't trust about her own experience. And so I think and that's taking place in the film. Like in the time that the film is happening, she's actively no longer able to trust her own mind. And in order to escape the like, sort of unstable feeling of that, she just dives deeper into like using in order to like just obliterate even being worried about that. You know what I mean? Like the fear of not being able to trust your own mind and then being like, well, then I'll just totally like take myself out of even caring anymore. I would say for me, there were a lot of even things where I told myself very specific stories about my past, like as Lily, like past things that happened, like very specific things about my relationship with Russell, you know, my neighbor Russell, and to really have like a very clear vision in my mind of like what my lived reality was like prior to the film taking place. And then I feel like no matter how like lost and like down the rabbit hole we get, at least I feel like I'm able to pull from these imagined memories that I had sort of created for myself in those moments to hopefully like anchor myself in like in a reality. If honestly, like, oh, I don't know, like, were those realities even real? You know what I mean? I don't know. But like for Lily, they were. And so that's all I
Yeah.
can, yeah.
So just adding to what Shannon said, which is just that even when things get surreal from her perspective, that is real for Lily. So everything that she experiences is real. So it doesn't really, the sort of debate is a little bit irrelevant because everything that Shannon brings to Lily and what she's going through at any time in the moment is totally real for her, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and you totally got that too, because you could see that, like even though she was questioning, I felt like you had said that earlier, how, the audience should connect with her through that. And it is like, I feel like as a viewer, when she questioned something, I was questioning at the same time, kind of thing. And so I know that shows how well that process were between the writing and directing and your performance of it. It seemed to all like mesh perfectly to pull that off. So.
Cool.
Awesome.
So now one of the things I thought was impressive, and I know you said it was kind of like a small, like little set kind of thing, but the visuals and the set design were really impressive. I thought I liked a lot of. I used to at one point I wanted to be an editor, so I liked that like a lot of the cuts that you put in there that were put in there and stuff. But what I loved is Tim and I, and this is something Tim and I always discuss on there when it's kind of like a set piece, kind of a really either sometimes takes its own self as a character in the film or just think, and I'm trying to. There's a sequence I may not be able to say because I don't want it to give it away. So maybe I'll talk to you after the main part is done and ask if we're right on this. But anyway, so the house that was used in the film was really good. It was like the simplistic house, but I felt like it was like set so perfectly to fit what was going on. And I don't know if that's that like how you felt about that. Like, what can you tell us about the house that was used in there? I know you touched on it a little earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful house, but we also had, like I said, like an amazing production art team. So we had Peter Falanga doing some art direction for us. He's an amazing talent. Maria Parker was our production designer, and she like absolutely nailed it. And then we had an amazing group that was doing everything from set deck to set construction and art and props and everything. And so like the house was the house, but it wasn't dark green. It didn't have wallpaper. It didn't have wood paneling. It didn't have all of the furniture that's in it, all of the carpeting. Like essentially, even the sink fixtures were replaced. So it was a small house, but it looked kind of nothing like what you end up seeing on screen. Almost everything was replaced inside of it just for the production, and then converted back when we were done. So sense of place and atmosphere was really important to me early on in this. In fact, we had another house lined up before this. A long time before this, the film actually took place originally in the original script. It took place in a trailer park, and it took place in a double wide trailer in a small trailer park community. We ended up not being able to secure a location for that, so we had to kind of reconstruct what it was, and then it became a small rural house or like rural town house. But for me, and this isn't giving away too much, but since pregnancy and motherhood play such a huge visual role in the movie, and I can elaborate on this later, but I really wanted the house itself to feel like almost like a claustrophobic womb for Lily. So this whole time while Lily is sort of going through this essentially transformation or self-discovery and this sort of rebirth, I wanted the whole space that you felt in to feel like this sort of claustrophobic womb, so that it's kind of like the whole film itself is existing like this pregnancy. So you should feel like you should hear weird noises banging on the walls. You should be unsure of what's around the corner, things should be muddy sometimes, things should be obscured sometimes, and everything should feel like it's more and more closing in on you as it gets on. And some of that was also how we chose to shoot it. Like you talked about the editing, sort of shot it a little bit tighter and a little bit more and made it a little more contrasty as the film goes on. So and a little more saturated too. So as things become a little bit more dangerous, a little bit, stakes get higher, the film sort of literally, the womb, so to speak, literally closes in on Lily, and it just gets more and more intense.
Yeah, and I hope this is not too much of a spoiler, but it's right in the beginning too, a little bit of it too, how certain doors are locked, like actually locked. So it
Yeah.
gives you more of a thing, like, okay, like, there's this like almost like entrapment in this house, and and for bigger theme, I guess her world, is like she's in this little thing and she can't. There's locked parts of maybe her memory or per se, or something like that. But yeah, no, I thought that like those little touches like that, like whether or not I could like if I'm even expressing them correctly the way I took it in as I was a viewer, but I think a lot of people are gonna have that thought process when they see it. They're like, oh, it's kind of unnerving. I'm not sure why, but oh, maybe this is the reason why. And stuff like that to me always works so well, especially in like in a horror movie when it's like this and there's it's a tight small amount of characters, small sets, small things like that. And I always think that works really well. The funny thing is, Shannon, you kind of just answered the question in your last answer. You answered my next question. But if you feel like you didn't get, if you wanted more of it, you can jump in because I had it for you and Ryan separately. So so Ryan, like I feel like even though Jed is a quote unquote supporting character in this, he still I feel like you got a lot about him in that short period of time, and that's probably a credit to your skills as an actor there, because I feel like you could tell he's like kind of this good dude, and he but he and he has his own problems, but he kind of finds a way to like he's just like, look, this is life, I'm gonna do it this way, and yeah, I may have done some bad things and I'm not proud of it, but I'm gonna live, I'm gonna go on, kind of a thing. Whereas in contrast, Shannon's character is a bit more, like held back by her trauma. But my question was going to be is, so what kind of like, what inspiration did you use to kind of capture that? Did you kind of make like a backstory like Shannon did for her, for
Um,
Lily, or?
yeah, absolutely. Jed had, like you said, kind of, was trying to do something, I guess maybe had a little more of a optimistic view on things, but it's very, I think that it's really interesting because that's kind of presented at the beginning of the film. It's kind of like this dialogue between the two of them, exploring that. And but there's also other themes involved too. But yeah, in terms of like backstory with that, honestly, I would say a lot of it did, and this is, I think Martin knew that we would bring this too, is just being a couple.
Mm-hmm.
And having that comfortability. We've actually acted together before. That's how we met in a play. We're doing the Laramie Project.
I know that's yeah.
Yeah, great
Very
play.
good.
Great. And we had a scene together and in that. And so we've always been comfortable working together, but we've never really, I think to this extent, we hadn't done anything quite like this.
Yeah.
And so I think just that was able to come through, that comfortability naturally. And just even getting, when they flew us out to Portland to do this, we came out about, I don't know, were we there like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 days before we started shooting?
Yeah, almost a week. Like, yeah.
Week?
Yeah. We did a full blocking of the house and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to say, is getting into the house too,
sure.
which I think that's so true, is the house as a character, and getting, into that space beforehand. And so that brought another, degree of comfortability. And then all the other stuff like backstory, it was just, just like literally having fun with it. I think Jed was actually a fun character for me to do. And Martin really encouraged that, don't overthink it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was great. So you could see why Shannon, I didn't, I kind of like, you kind of gave that your answer to that in the previous question, which is good. I had split it, but it made sense to have it that way. So this one's for all of you guys. So with the film being released soon, what do each of you hope that the viewers take away from the film after seeing it? You can go in the same order you did before.
And,
Yeah, Martin, you go first.
okay. It's a great question. It's a big question.
Mhm.
You know, so there'd be a takeaway I could say, but I don't want to give away the ending of the movie. But I think if I could sum it up pretty easily, I would like audience members to take away a bit of understanding. And I think that the film comes from a place of having empathy for the characters. There's a lot of pain in this movie. There's a lot of folks going through it, if that makes sense. And, you know, there's a lot of things that happen in the movie. There's scary things, there's dramatic things, but ultimately the real takeaway that I want people to come up from is that Lily is trying. She's trying her best through everything. So I guess just an understanding for her and bringing themselves to it, because the movie really is about sitting with yourself a little bit. There are answers in the movie, but there's also answers you might find for yourself if you really sit and let it sort of wash over you. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for people to kind of just absorb the film and see how they relate and hopefully you know, really just understand the sort of nuances of what everybody's going through, because it was important for me, for all of us to sort of tell a story that you know, told the truth in some ways, you know, told a human truth. And yeah, I guess that's probably the most important aspect I'd like people to take away.
Like that. Now you guys got to top that. I don't know how you're gonna.
I don't think I will.
Put it in
Yeah,
another
yeah,
order, like
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like my answer is just very similar to Martin's, you know, a sense of hoping that people are able to lock in and go on a journey of empathy. Like, not that they're necessarily having empathy the entire time, but that they're able to have moments where they're like, okay, I get that. I get that. And equally, like you're saying, I love those moments you're describing of when you're like, yeah, but no, you're being your own worst enemy right now. And I feel like that's such a real human experience. And then to have like to really go on a crazy ride with that, I think it's like a fun delivery device to, yeah, explore that journey of empathy with someone who's really, you know, a flawed but real person. Yeah. So very similar to Martin's answer.
yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, you know, left with a note of hope. That's how I felt, is just like which I really appreciate. And you know, I mean, you know, there's films and maybe not, you know, and it's like, okay, that's the story. But with this one, because the themes are very there's big heavy themes, and to have hope put in that, and even some humor, and I think they did a great job with the script and the everything. That
I agree. I like all those answers.
you know, it's like I could be biased, but like I truly did. When we watched it a couple times. And it is the kind of film I think that should be watched more than once.
Yeah.
I know I kind of felt the same way after seeing it. You know, there was a sense of hope, but I did feel like the empathy that needed to come across, you know, because these characters were real, and I guarantee any viewer is going to know at least some portion of some of these characters, you know, so there should be an instant connection. And I think it was because it was portrayed in so well and just presented so well that I think people should connect to this film on many levels. So
That's so
it should be
awesome.
good.
Yeah, that's nice to hear.
Awesome.
So we always like to throw in a fun question in there. Tim always laughs when I say that, but I throw in a fun. So and this is not to diminish any of the accomplishments you had on the film, but what was it, being a big horror fan, of course, what was it like to have the legendary Jeffrey Combs on this film?
Amazing. I mean, I feel like once again, Martin, I want you to answer first, because
Jeff
you're
is
the one
the-
who really had to like do the work to get him
Yeah.
on board, you know, get
Jeff
it
is
on
the
a
best.
project.
Jeff is the best. It was a dream come true. I mean, I've been a fan of his for a long time, not just as a horror icon, but as a Star Trek icon.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yes, that's
yeah,
right. He did
yeah,
that.
I grew up watching his work, inspired by his films. And honestly, you couldn't find a more dedicated actor and kind person. So just like a generous actor too. So like someone who, when he came to set, not only loved all the crew, socialized with everybody, told stories, but was so into the role and so into working with Shannon and working with everybody that he was just he came to work, he came to do it, and he showed up fully. And in fact, so there's a scene in it that gets cited to me a lot. It's this sort of monologue scene at the door.
Oh yeah, I love
Absolutely,
it.
it gets quoted to me a lot from folks who've watched the film. And that scene wasn't initially in the original shooting draft. When we signed him on, and he was going to come out, we had an extra time with him, and I said, "Hey, could I write something just for you?" And he was like, I'd love to." So I wrote him a draft of that, and then he came the next day with it off book and ready to go, and he was just so into it. And honestly, just a joy to work with. I would love to work with him many more times. He's awesome.
Yeah, he seemed like he could tell he like I think I don't think I've seen one role of his where you could just not you could tell that he's just given everything, into the role, no matter how small, whether a line, every line is
He
just
cares. He
delivered
really
like that.
cares.
Yeah, he really
Yeah.
does. And he really, Martin's right. He's a truly kind, generous person to work with and fun too, like I love that combination of someone who takes the work really seriously and wants to invest their whole self, and someone who has such an amazing career and not for once was like, I'm above this or I'm above any of the, these people. He's like, he's there, he's part of the team, and in equal measure, like wanting to have fun. You know what I mean? Like because like he loves doing this and he's doing it because he has fun doing it, and that's just an amazing combination.
Yeah, it comes
That's
through.
awesome.
I
Yeah.
didn't have any scenes with him, but I did drive around in the car with him, and he was cracking me up nonstop. I mean, he was just like story after story, talking about where he ate, what he did that morning. He was just like, yeah, it's such good energy, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so great at the craft too.
Yeah.
Like, so great to see him work.
That's what I was hoping for that answer, but I kind of knew I was going to get it just good from everybody because that's all you hear is how great he is. So,
There's a reason why everyone wants to work with him.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I mean that's like
it's justified.
the same reason as a viewer why I always will watch anything with him in it. So to close out, sorry, I know I kept you guys a little long here, but so where can once it gets released, I believe it releases in like 2 weeks, I think. Where can our listeners find it? Because I know we've sold it really well, and they're going to dying to see it now. So
Yeah. So it's releasing limited theatrical. There's some bookings coming up. It's going to be playing in Portland. It'll be playing in a couple theaters in LA. And then
to get down there.
Day of date, it's going to be video on demand rental. So major platforms, and you can sort of follow along if you want to know more about specific locations. Just following Dark Sky Films, and they'll be posting a lot more information as we sort of approach a lot more coming up in the next few days leading up to it.
Awesome. Yeah, we follow Dark Sky all the time because
right,
we've.
Martin, did you say the 22nd? Did I miss it?
21st is the pre-screener we're flying down to in Glendale, and then it's going to go to, I believe, the Monica Film Center Lamley down there, and then also the 22nd it'll be up here in Portland, and then I believe some other places as well, but I don't have the information for you right now. And then day of date, it'll be video on demand, so it will be out there. It'll be available to check out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was gonna say because we follow Dark Skies. We've got a lot of Dark Sky films that screeners that we've got and everything. And I don't know who the curator is of the production company, but they have yet to send us a movie we haven't loved. I mean, so it's like everyone, they are so good at finding these films that are just like, I think are like, it's almost like it's like they're horror fans for horror fans. It's like they always seem to grab like some just incredible films that we've gotten to see through them. So.
Yeah,
This one,
Shout
of
out to
course,
Dark
is no
Sky.
obsession.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're all wonderful people as well.
yeah, I bet. Yeah, no, they've reached out to us when we've promoted stuff for them, and they're like, "Oh, thanks, guys." We're like, "Of course." So, But yeah, so thank you so much for coming on. It was so much fun talking to you guys, especially because, like I said, I love the movie so much, and it's always an extra treat when doing the podcast where it's like I get to see a movie and then I get to talk to the people who did it, who are responsible for providing such a great film. So
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
yes, and keep in touch, because any project you guys want to come, if you ever want to come back on and talk about it, or just even if you just need us to help promote something, just say the word. We'll be happy to do that.
Oh, thank you so much.
Great.